Charles McCullar was just 19 when he set out on an adventure that would become one of the most chilling missing persons cases in American history. A passionate amateur photographer, he left his home state of Virginia in 1974, eager to explore the country. Determined to experience the raw beauty of nature, he left his Volkswagen behind, carrying only his camera gear. He planned to travel across the U.S. by bus and hitchhiking, capturing the landscapes along the way. By late January 1975, Charles had made it to Eugene, Oregon, where he stayed with a friend for a few weeks. But soon, his restless spirit led him to his next destination, Crater Lake National Park. Despite the harsh winter conditions, he was eager to photograph the snow-covered landscape. He assured his friend he would be back in 48 hours. That was the last time anyone ever saw him alive. Crater Lake, the deepest lake in the U.S., is known for its breathtaking beauty, but also its eerie isolation. Charles vanished without a trace. His friend waited 3 days before contacting the police, fearing that something had gone terribly wrong. A massive search operation was launched immediately, but no sign of him could be found. No footprints, no campsite, no personal belongings. It was as if the earth had swallowed him whole. Witnesses later reported seeing Charles near Diamond Lake, a 5-hour hike from Crater Lake. Search teams scoured every possible route between the two lakes, but the snow-covered wilderness offered no clues. Some speculated that he had taken a longer route due to heavy snowfall, but every possible path led to a dead end. As days turned into weeks, Charles's father flew out to Oregon determined to find his son. He spent the entire summer camping near Crater Lake, holding on to hope. The FBI eventually got involved, conducting deeper investigations, but the results were just as baffling. It was as if Charles had simply disappeared into thin air. Then in October 1976, almost 2 years after his disappearance, 2 hikers in the remote Baby Creek Canyon stumbled upon a disturbing discovery. A tattered backpack lay abandoned in the wilderness. Inside, they found a Volkswagen car key. Authorities quickly compared it to a set still kept by the McCullar family in Virginia. It was a match. Rangers mounted an expedition to the location, and what they found defied explanation. Charles's remains were scattered across the area, what little was left of them. His jeans were draped over a log, surprisingly well preserved despite being exposed to the elements for nearly 2 years. His thermal socks were still inside the jeans, and inside the socks, they found the bones of his feet. A few feet away, they discovered a portion of his skull. The rest of his skeleton, completely missing. Even more bizarre, Charles's shirt, coat, boots, and camera were never found. His body was located over 12 miles from the nearest trail in a region buried under 6 feet of snow at the time of his disappearance. How could he have traveled that far, in those conditions, without any survival gear? One park ranger, who helped recover the remains, later admitted in an interview that Charles's body seemed to have melted away. Some suspected hypothermia, but others believed something far more sinister had happened. Had Charles fallen victim to a brutal crime? Or was there something even stranger lurking in the depths of Crater Lake's wilderness? The discovery of Charles McCullar's remains raised more questions than it answered. His body, what little was found, was in a condition that defied logic. His pants remained eerily intact, yet his body seemed to have vanished from within them. His feet, still inside his socks, were among the only identifiable bones. His skull lay a short distance away, but the rest of his skeleton had simply disappeared. No signs of a struggle, no blood, no explanation. Theories began to swirl, each one more unsettling than the last. Theory 1, the brutal forces of nature. Some believe Charles fell victim to the harsh elements. Hypothermia can lead to paradoxical undressing, where disoriented victims remove their clothing in a final, confused act. But that doesn't explain the complete lack of most of his bones, or how his remains ended up miles from any accessible route, in an area buried under 6 feet of snow. Even with severe disorientation, trekking over 12 miles in such conditions without gear seemed impossible. Theory 2, a predator in the wilderness. Could a wild animal have taken him? Mountain lions and bears do roam Crater Lake, but scavengers tend to leave behind more remains. Bones are usually scattered and chewed, not entirely missing. And what kind of animal would leave his jeans neatly draped over a log, as if he had simply evaporated from them? Then there was the park ranger's chilling comment. It looked like he melted. Theory 3: the Bigfoot connection. Crater Lake has long been rumored to be home to something unnatural. Native American legends speak of strange creatures lurking in the deep forests, massive silent figures that move like shadows. The area has been the site of numerous Bigfoot sightings, with reports of eerie howls, enormous footprints, and campers experiencing unshakable feelings of being watched. Could Charles have stumbled upon something he was never meant to see? Some believe Bigfoot isn't just an undiscovered ape, but something more. Something that can appear and vanish at will. If he encountered such an entity, did he try to flee? Did it take him somewhere else? Theory 4: the UFO hypothesis. There's another theory, one whispered among those who have spent time in the deepest, most remote corners of Crater Lake. UFO activity. Strange lights have been seen over the lake for decades. Hikers have reported losing time, waking up miles from where they started, with no memory of how they got there. Did Charles McCullar witness something in the sky that night? Something that took him? The way his body was found, or rather the way it wasn't, echoes reports of cattle mutilations and other unexplained cases where remains appear in bizarre conditions, as if subjected to an unknown force. His missing bones, his vanishing clothes, the unexplainable distance he traveled. Was it possible he was abducted, experimented on, and left behind? The FBI's silence. Adding to the mystery is the FBI's unusual involvement. They rarely step into missing persons cases in national parks unless there's reason to suspect foul play. Yet they conducted extensive searches and even exchanged letters with Charles's father, who was convinced his son had been murdered. Strangely, the FBI never released their full findings. Why? Were they covering up something? A human killer? A bizarre accident? Or did they uncover something that the public wasn't meant to know? The chilling conclusion. Officially, authorities ruled Charles's death a case of natural causes. Case closed. But those who have studied his disappearance know better. Nothing about this case makes sense. Some say the wilderness holds secrets we may never understand. Others believe something unnatural stalks the forests of Crater Lake, something ancient, watching, waiting. Charles McCullar set out to capture the beauty of winter through his camera lens. Instead, he became part of one of the most haunting, unsolved mysteries in American history. And to this day, no one truly knows what happened to him in the frozen wilderness of Crater Lake.